Hello, my name is Melissa Damon, and today I will present you my thesis about creating AI-generated role-playing videos from causal network model simulations of social anxiety disorder for virtual therapeutic contexts. As an introduction, what we did in this thesis was create a causal network for social anxiety disorder based on the behavior and the brain states that get activated in social anxiety disorder. Based on this network, we created simulations of how they behave and how they adapt, because this is an adaptive network modeling approach. Based on based on this mentioned before, we created a representative script, and the representative script was used to create the AI-generated video. As a motivation for this, we have the fact that I believe the social anxiety disorder is not talked about enough and not taken seriously enough. And I believe that a good therapy option for this is exposure therapy, as it makes the person face their fears directly and also makes them become aware of the unconscious behaviors that they're doing because of this disorder. There have been previous attempts at creating virtual avatars that require too much technical work. Therefore, in this thesis, we try to do a more automatic AI version for it with less human work involved. To understand social anxiety better, there are also some causes for it. In childhood, for example, if the parent treats the person badly, if they're always scolding them, it's going to create unrealistic social standards, behavioral inhibition. If they're excluded from other peers, it's going to create shyness, which is behavioral inhibition. All of these are going to be influential for adulthood for the person. We also have physiological and neural factors, which are how the body reacts physically to this feeling of fear and anxiety that they have, neural factors such as how the brain states work, unconscious behaviors that they do, such as always being focused on themselves, always looking out for possible threats, always going over and over negative situations that they've been in, safety and avoidance behaviors, such as sipping continuously from a drink or leaving the event. And they always take negative feedback as weighing more than a positive one. We also found out that fear and anxiety are the main feelings in a social anxiety disorder. There are multiple brain parts that influence these feelings. For example, the amygdala, the insula, the ventromedial prefrontal cortex, the orbitofrontal cortex, the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, dorsal striatum. But I will talk about them later when I will explain the simulations and how they work. We designed an adaptive model, as I mentioned before, and for this model, we had to put it in MATLAB, and we used an alogistic function that takes the input weights. So if multiple nodes are coming into that node, it's going to take the weights of them. And when it reaches a certain threshold that we set, it's going to activate. Then based on the steepness, it will tell how gradually it activates. This is the modeling approach that we have used. We have designed. We have in the base layer the behavior of a socially anxious person. For example, we have a emotion regulation loop for fear. We have an action regulation loop for decision making in a socially threatening situation. The causes, the post-event rumination, and them being focused on their own person. In the first order layer, we have the brain states, and in the second order layer, we have the adaptive speeds. These downward links influence how fast and how hard they influence the states in their lower levels. In this diagram, we have the incoming arrows to the brain states and to the speed layer. So for example, here we have the amygdala, which takes input from perceived social threat, because the amygdala hyperactivates when a person believes that they are in a threat. And also the prep states, how the body reacts to that. And we also saw previously that amygdala is going to activate these physiological states, so it's going to amplify them. We also have two simulations where we talk about how the brain states activate and how this behavior is influenced by that. So in the beginning, we have the three constant states, which I mentioned as the causes. They're constantly one. Then we have the possibility of negative evaluation appearing. This raises a threat to a socially anxious person. Then, because of the perceived threat, we have the amygdala hyperactivating and also the BNST. Then this is going to influence the physiological arousal, which is the sweaty palms, blushing, and heart rate, which are represented here, increasing the feeling of fear. And the ventromedial prefrontal cortex activates. It barely dampens the feeling of fear. As you can see here, the fear goes down after it activates, but it never reaches zero, highlighting the fact that this is a continuous feeling. It's not going to stop after a threatening event. We also have the action regulation loop, which is highlighted here. We have the safety behavior, the active avoidance, temporary anxiety relief, and here we can see that the orbitofrontal cortex is the red line here, which overestimates the cost of a social interaction. Then we have the dorsal striatum, which is focused on creating habits out of these actions. And this one gets activated slightly after executing an action that helps in a threatening situation, because it's going to create a habit and the person is going to start doing it automatically. Also, that is also due because of the dopamine relief that doing such actions will give the socially anxious person. We also have the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, which is driven by the DACC, which is in the speed layer. It drives the person towards executing a certain behavior, doing uncertain moments of, in our case, the socially threatening situation. This activates right when is the time to make a decision whether you continue coping with a situation or whether you want to leave. Here with the dotted arrows, we have attentional bias to threat and self-focused attention. They have a hill right here when it's time to make the decision on what action the person wants to do. And we also have the post-event rumination and self-referential bias and negative self-image, which keep getting increased. That is because these actions all contribute to having a negative image towards themselves, post-event rumination towards continuously replaying such bad moments in your head and learning from them. It affects your self-esteem negatively. In the second simulation, the main difference is the fear emotion regulation loop. That is because in this case, we assume that the ventromedial prefrontal cortex has absolutely no power over dampening the feeling of fear. So the amygdala hyperactivates, the ventromedial prefrontal cortex activates, the insula also activates, which is supposed to maintain this what-if anxiety during anticipation of a threatening event. And with the dotted lines, we can see the fear feeling and the physiological arousal. They're all increasing fast and staying constant, suggesting that this simulation represents the most critical moments, a very critical moment for a social anxiety person. For the scenario, we based it mostly on the diagram for the behavior of how our character was going to act in our video. The simulations we used mostly for adding cues, for example, the intensity of the fear feeling in the second one, how intense the fear is. We also did temporary anxiety relief after doing a safety behavior. So both the diagram and the simulations aided into creating the script. This script is going to be used for the video generation. We have a protagonist, Lisa, which is portrayed both in her childhood and also in adulthood at 22 years old, which cover both the causes and how a person lives in their lives with social anxiety disorder. This script contains multiple socially threatening situations for the person, how she behaves in them, what inner thoughts she has, her bodily reactions, and we tried adding cues for realism. As the tools, we use the Animation Script Builder and Runway AI. Animation Script Builder helped us separate the scenes that we created into shots. Those shots were then generated as images using GPT-4o. And then in order to animate them, we had to give prompts based on those shots on how to animate them for expressiveness, facial expressions, camera angles, customization. We made the character after myself when my hair was darker. We tried to personalize her jewelry, her clothes, how she looks like, how her room looks like to give a more realistic feeling. And we had to remind the AI to keep these ones in every prompt that we used. For voiceover and sound effects, we initially tried to use the lip sync feature of Runway AI, which was it was useful, but whenever a character would try to express feelings, it would lose some of the expressiveness than we had before the lip sync feature. So we resorted to using 11 Labs AI. Even though it didn't offer lip sync, it created voices based on the prompts with the dialogue lines that we had in our script. For Pixabay, for sound effects, we used Pixabay, for example, increased heart rate, lowered heart rate, background noises. Final assembly, we did each scene separately with the voices and sound effects. Then we put it into a master project in CapCut. There we have some very good results that are correlated to the scenario. For example, this one where Lisa's fear is speaking. We're going to see later in the video that this fear peaking is due to the fact that she had to present in front of her class. She saw her classmates whispering, and she's very much focused on what she said, how she presented, and also negatively interpreting her classmates whispering. We also have another very representative scene for the action regulation loop, which is active avoidance. After an interaction with her friend and the stranger, which is very important, she didn't feel like she belonged in that place. And she tried initially a safety behavior, but she still didn't feel comfortable enough. So she used an active avoidance behavior, which is making an excuse to leave the event in order to leave it.
Sorry, guys. Will you be mad at me if I go home? I have a stomach ache.
We also had a lot of challenges and failures. That is because not only because the AI was not able to replicate the emotions exactly the way we wanted it, but also because our prompts may have not been sufficient enough in order to get what we have envisioned. Therefore, there was over exaggeration of emotions, wrong hand placements. As you can see here, she's with her laptop closed from the back. The notification is on the back of her phone. Here she's crying from her face, her eyes and her mouth. Here she's stirring the spoon with a hand in the glass. These are some of the changes that we had to make in our script because we had to replace some scenes. For example, she's not closing her laptop anymore. She is just shown with her laptop closed already. Limitations, we had some assumptions that we have made. For example, we omitted the link between fear feeling and temporary anxiety reduction because we wanted to examine how both of these loops and these feelings work separately. We also initialized the first three states with one because we believe that they're the causes and therefore without therapy, they are going to be maintained throughout the person's life and interactions. Also for the brain layer, we have very simple brain states. There's a lot of more brain connections that are aiding in this. For example, the VMPFC and the amygdala interconnectivity. We omitted that, we took them separately. And as conclusions and future work, we have concluded that it is indeed possible to generate an AI virtual roleplay video based on authorization of the carefully designed second-order adaptive model, which accurately represents the behavior and how the brain works in a person with social anxiety disorder. As future work, we would like to eliminate the limitations in the previous slide for a deeper understanding of social anxiety disorder, to use better tools for the generation of the AI video, for example, Google's newly released VO3, Kling AI for better and more expressive lines of the characters, 11 Labs premium version, Runaway AI's lip sync option, and also most importantly, we would like to create this into a game where the person that is going to therapy has the possibility of choosing 4 choices that will dictate what they're saying and also what they're doing, and each action leading to different consequences. And now I will present you the video.
Didn't you have a test this week? Have you got your results yet?
Yes, I did. I actually got a 7. We got the results today.
Oh, a 7? You should have paid more attention. Was it that hard?
Not necessarily. I didn't phrase the answers in the same way as the teacher wanted it, which is what made me lose the points.
You should have paid more attention in class then.
My answers, they weren't wrong. They just weren't phrased the way the teacher wanted.
Well, you got a 7, so the answers have to be wrong. Not remembering what the teacher exactly wanted in a test is not an excuse. You really need to study more.
Oh no, I completely forgot about the presentation. And I only have 1 week left? God, I hope I have enough time to revise everything. Hello, my name is Lisa, and I'm here to present you the topic of... this sounds so lame. Anna just texted me. I really don't feel like going. On top of that, I have to study for my presentation. But what if she will think that I'm a bad friend? Ugh, fine. But who is this Alex? Is he a good friend of hers? I hope he will not think that I'm weird. What if I just don't have what to talk about, like I do when I'm alone with Anna? So my hobbies are playing video games, listening to music, studying. Ugh, who says studying? I will seem like the most boring person on earth. How about favorite movies? Yeah, I think if I talk about The Lord of the Rings, I will have enough to maintain a conversation. Hi, Anna. Hi, Alex. Nice to meet you. I'm Lisa.
Hi, I'm Alex. So, yeah, I really think we should go and see this movie together.
Did he just look like he doesn't want to talk to me? And now they're talking about going out in front of me, without me? Ugh, I feel like a third wheel.
You've been drinking a lot of water, girl. Are you a fish?
Sorry, I'm just thirsty, I guess.
Relax. I was joking.
So, Anna and I are obsessed with something. What do you think about The Lord of the Rings?
I've not watched any of the movies, but my family loves the trilogy. They always want me to watch it with them, but I never have the time.
Yeah, they're very good. You should join them sometime. Sorry, guys. Will you be mad at me if I go home? I have a stomach ache.
No, don't worry. If you need anything, let me know.
I hope you get better soon.
Today I will have this presentation about, Really? Well done? I could barely make up a sentence. I don't want to present ever again.
Thank you for your time.